Welcome to CMMS Radio, a podcast, blog site, and general resource for all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, from selection to implementation to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey. We'll bring in experts along the way to help us learn more about CMMS, facilities operations, and much more. If you need help with the CMMS project, send a message at CMMSradio.com using the What's on Your Mind link. Suggest a topic, share your CMMS story, or ask questions. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Today, we are joined by Jeremy Burge. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Louisiana Truck Stop and Gaming. Jeremy, thank you for joining us today. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm well. I'm really glad we got a chance to put this together and get you on an episode. The reason for that is you're in what I see as a unique space, although we see this space, throughout North America, the world as well. But in particular, when we talk about things like truck stops and gaming, that's a really nice, kind of interesting combination for me. I hope that's the same for other people. But you and I have had several conversations over the last few years about this, about what you do. So what I want to do is just kind of talk a little bit about your experience. I know you've been there for 15 years
Yep.
and you've dealt with not just things like IT and field services, but you have a very heavy involvement in ops and facilities as it relates to operations. So, what is your background that led you into this role, and what are some of the things that you deal with on a day-to-day basis relative to facilities and maintenance management?
Okay. So kind of what led me into this was my former role was the IT director and operations. So we were doing everything using spreadsheets and keeping up with it that way, and decided to look for some sort of platform to kind of keep everybody in the communication loop. Um, as far as, we do everything from building maintenance and to equipment maintenance through it. So just a platform to kind of keep everybody in the same loop.
Right. Now, when we talk about the locations, how many total locations do you have to manage on a day-to-day basis?
It's 26 locations, and they are scattered from one side of Louisiana all the way down to the other. So driving time, we're looking anywhere from 5 to 6 hours in between each location.
And then the team that's out there, the way you're leveraging CMMS platforms, I'm less concerned about what the platform is, what it's called. I'm more interested in how you leverage CMMS to solve specific problems. So how does a CMMS platform help you and your team actually deliver what you set out to deliver every day? Are there specific problems that it solves, or things that you avoid, like catastrophes, if like you didn't have one? How does that kind of unfold for you?
Um, it starts from just the location manager putting in a work order for the problem, and then all the way up to the scheduling of my technicians. Like I said, we're scattered all across the state, and I have technicians in 2 different portions of the state. So it kind of helps with our scheduling of those guys and to make them more efficient, and get to kind of our more critical problems, and making sure that everything is being handled, and from my operations team to maintenance, because ultimately it kind of spreads across multiple departments. So it's just really just helps with the communication.
So essentially, if you didn't have a CMMS platform and you're doing some of those more kind of old school, hey, we're going to get it done however we get it done, Excel, voicemails, emails, all these different things, absent a CMMS system, have you seen big differences in the efficiency and lots of blind spots when you can't get to that data quickly?
We have, and actually before I had the program, it was took 3 people to do scheduling of the teams, and now I'm down to one person that basically handles all of the scheduling. So actually helped me in labor dollars as well.
That's great. So you get the savings in the labor dollars. You have a single point of contact that can funnel everything out through the platform. Everybody's got the visibility to it. So whether they're in the field or at the office, it doesn't really matter anymore because you're all seeing a heck of a lot closer to real time data. And then
Correct.
the data collection itself, are there specific ways you use that data collection? And here's why I'm asking. There's this really big trend, and it's been around for a long time, but right now it's really, really heating up again, so to speak. And it's the digital transformation of how data is truly being leveraged to inform how we're moving through the world in our day to day operations. So, are you leveraging that data after the fact, looking back at things like PMs versus break fix scenarios and learning from it so that you can make adaptations and iterations of what you already do so well?
So we are. We actually have our assets all in the program as well. So we're tagging assets and kind of helps see, does it make sense to continue to repair versus, you know, should I just go ahead and replace it? And then we actually use it for our gaming devices as well and track them that way as far as the repair and maintenance and keeping a preventative maintenance schedule for those every, I don't know, 6 months of them being cleaned and that type of thing.
Right, right. And that's it's one of the interesting things about what you do that always intrigued me because I think a lot of us in the world, well, especially in the United States, we know what a truck stop is, right?
Right.
And then to add in that element that there is gaming, it's a really interesting combination that actually makes an incredible amount of sense. And I think about those assets when you and I have talked over the years and how obviously the built environment, we have a facility, we have the truck stop itself, we might have a convenience store, and then we've got the gaming. The gaming machines is a critical aspect of your income stream, let alone a convenience for the various patrons of the truck stops, right? So it's a critical component of what you do every day. Do you find that the number of failures has reduced on gaming equipment as a result of leveraging a CMMS platform to set up your PMs? Have they lasted longer, performed better, etc.?
They have less downtime. Like I said, we set it up where they have a PM schedule of the cleaning and maintenance of the bill units, the printers, the common problems. So, A, the preventive maintenance has helped. B, actually having the asset tracked with the work order has helped us as well. If we've had a machine that's had, I don't know, say a printer issue for several times, then that kind of tells us that we need to replace that printer um, versus keep repairing. So it has helped with the downtime of machines, most definitely.
And as far as CMMS platforms in general, right? Not a particular one, but you've seen a lot of the challenges in real time that I tend to talk about on monologue episodes. I bring it up in some of the other video episodes, but for you, you're right there. You've seen what it's like to look for, identify, and then select, and then implement, and then leverage CMMS platforms. And you've done it with more than one platform. Are there some specific challenges that you find to be really common to that process? And if so, what are they? And then on top of that, what's your advice for others when they're taking this approach or taking on this project to either get their first CMMS or replace an existing CMMS? So, challenges you've seen with different selections and implementation processes over your years, and what would your advice be for people when they're looking? And then, what's your advice when they're implementing?
Okay. Um, so, kind of my biggest challenge when I first started was finding a program that was adaptable to our needs. Um, a lot of what we found, it was more geared towards building maintenance. So that was a challenge in the beginning. The um, implementation side was um, have a good bond with the team that is doing your rollout. Really communicate exactly what you're needing, and then just following through with what they've told you. Really vet their support departments. That's my biggest advice: is really dive in before you sign any agreements that it is truly what you need. Whether it's have them set you a test environment, and do um, test work orders, test workflows, that type of thing, just to make sure that it truly fits your needs for your organization, before you sign a contract.
I like that because there's been some conversations I've been a part of lately, and one of those things is that a lot of these systems have an incredible amount of similarity, but it's in the differentiation, not from a competitive perspective, but from a nuanced perspective. How does this system actually work? What is the actual workflow? And is it a fit for this team that is about to use it? So, what I'm hearing from you is that you're a fan of trial environments so that you can put it to the test before you execute on anything like an agreement. And as you're doing that, what I'm also hearing is that you want to get a real solid experience of what that organization providing that solution is doing on support and delivery. And is that because you've been in situations where you had a system and then the company providing it just couldn't come to the table for you and support you, guide you, and really drive your success? Was that
That's
something that you've
exactly
had
what happened.
experiences where that didn't happen?
Yep. I've
And no, we don't want to name any companies.
right.
So
I've
it's more about the experience because I think everybody's out there trying really, really, really hard to do a good job, but they don't set themselves up to keep you top of mind.
correct that.
They get buried in their own stuff.
Right, and then you have made they've made promises of things that improvements and modifications, and then end up not following through or doing the full development of that platform in the original direction that it was said that it was going to be done.
Got it.
I guess that's the best way to put it.
Sorry. Yeah, when I think about that, and then the little I don't know if it was a ringtone or whatever that came on there. This is so for me, this is a really common thing that I've seen over the years, having been a representative of one system while learning about all the other systems and engaging with so many people over the years on what challenges they're experiencing. Sometimes what happens is they get these great solutions with great companies. Those companies go through some kind of a change, and we see this, it happens, and then clients end up kind of stuck. And your advice on not just trying out a system with a real-time trial environment, but really leaning in on some of that support to get a good indicator of or indication of how that company is going to stand by you. That's where you're going to do your best job of mitigating the risk. And then for me, I would add to that, for anyone that's dealing with a similar issue, is always ask those vendors the really hard questions that are most important to you. Don't make any exceptions there, because I think a lot of them are really, they are wanting to be there for you, and they will take that difficult question and try their best to answer it. And then if it doesn't sound or feel right, then don't proceed.
Yep.
um, it's really at some point you're able to minimize the risk by learning more and more about that vendor. And if the workflow is in place that matches what your team already likes to follow, or they see the potential to improve and then also solve these problems, maybe there's gaps from an existing system, you're moving to this new system, and you find that the workflow is incredibly efficient compared to what you're using, and then you find that that organization that you're looking at and evaluating is actually engaging not just around their opportunity to make a sale, but if they're engaging around their opportunity to solve your problem, then you're probably on a winning path with that vendor.
Most definitely.
Certainly doesn't guarantee things won't change, but are you then, when it comes to, I'm going to switch gears to the adoption, user adoption within your team, are you finding over these years you've developed your own strategies for how to get personnel to actually use it? Because a lot of the cowgirls and cowboys out there, they're gunslinging and doing great work, but when you put some technology in front of them, they're not too keen on it unless it works just right. So what have been your strategies to really have good, strong user adoption?
Um, Strong user guides has been really kind of my go-to with my team. Kind of take the basics that the different providers provide you, and then customize and build it to your own environment. Um, that's really been my big push with my team, because I don't have some of the most tech savvy managers that are keying in work orders and that type of thing. Um, so just having really good documentation to provide to them to use as resources has really been the biggest help for our organization when doing any type of rollout.
And then do you allow, like from your own perspective, do you allow those individuals to engage directly with the vendor on their training protocols if they, let's say I worked for you and I said, "Oh, Jeremy, I'm struggling with this and this. Can I just reach out to so and so and get my own training?" Do you allow them to do that?
If the provider or the platform does provide that, then yes. Been in some situations where their teams don't provide really support to the end user, and it's all has to be done in house. Um, so, um, so kind of both ways. We would allow it if the vendor does provide that support.
And I think, for you and anyone else, when the vendor does provide that support, take advantage of it. And I'm not saying take advantage of them. I'm saying use that as an opportunity to improve the ability of your users to adopt and really use this technology. And then if you're in a situation where it's a train the trainer philosophy, those work really, really well if they are done right. And what I mean by that is, let's set this customer up and then let's empower them to support their own people, which means we're not going to say that we're going to train the trainers and make you really good at that. We're actually going to do that. I think that's another strategy that can work if the vendor can make your top level team really good at using the platform and give them lots and lots of tools to bring in house to support their team. I think that's a strategy that can work, again, if the vendor steps up and does it. Something I want to switch to is, there's another concept that we're seeing everywhere, and this was always kind of in place, but there's this idea of a deskless workforce. And that's really what you deal with. The majority of your teams that are getting things done are not necessarily sitting at a desk. They're working on a piece of equipment, they're moving from one site to another. So mobile environments are really important. Has that been part of your strategy to try to leverage whatever platform you use to really empower the team to stay on the move?
It is. That was my last transition. That was my biggest, one of my biggest focuses was a mobile platform to make it easier for my team. And then the ability for them, my staff that's creating a work order, to have multiple platforms, whether it's a mobile or a call-in number, to actually be able to submit those tickets without actually physically having to be there in front of a computer.
I agree. I think it's a great way to really further bring them into into the fold when it comes to day-to-day operations. And I also think you mentioned one thing there, this option to call something in, whether it's somebody requesting something or one of your team members that wants to communicate that something was completed or something they encountered during that completion. It's really nice to have that voice option. And there are a couple of systems out there that do it. So, anybody out there that's looking for that kind of technology lift or functionality to further empower their team, they can reach out to me or they can check out CMMSradio.com. We've got a couple of affiliates up there. I wanted to then switch gears on more of a personal outlook for you, like what you're seeing now versus what you're seeing in the future. What do you see as current slash soon to be trends when it comes to maintaining facilities like the ones that you maintain? What are the things that you're seeing, and what are the things that you think are going to change in the next year or two?
Um, Kind of the biggest change that we've seen is just response time from vendors and communication with them. Just over the past several years, every company has had their struggles with staffing and maintaining that high level of service. So just the communication and being able to link them into our systems for them to be able to see that workflow as well. Um, and just them becoming more engaged in, I guess, kind of our environment and our workflows and work orders, for them to be able to also see the history of what all has been done to say, an air conditioner unit or a piece of an equipment.
I agree with you on that because these vendors that provide services at your various locations, certain types of equipment and whatnot, are actually a critical part of what you do and vice versa. So it makes complete sense to have them plugged in, utilizing the exact same platform, or at least being able to communicate the real time or near real time data about what they're doing so that you're not wondering if they're doing it or not. And they're not having to call 10 different people and wait 3 days to get the info they need before they go and fix something. So I think that's great to have a platform that allows for you to integrate your vendors into the process so that everybody's using the same data points and whatnot, pieces of critical data to get something done. Is that essentially a good way to put what you were talking about?
Best way.
All right. All right. So now, when it comes to the future of Louisiana truck stop and gaming, are you expecting that you'll continue to grow as an entity with additional locations over the years? Or do you expect it to kind of stay similar and just the activity itself by location will increase?
Of course, we're always looking to grow. Truck stop market is a little harder in Louisiana just due to the regulations. But yeah, I mean, if locations come available, we're definitely looking to grow and expand our location counts.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, for me, I think with all these episodes, when I have somebody on, especially for you, and I know you're very busy, you're running a complicated operation, you're always running and gunning. I've noticed that over the years that we've talked that we have to really work hard to get together and connect like this. But how do people get in touch with you if they wanted to learn more about Louisiana truck stop and gaming, or get your insights on some of these things we're talking about or some of the other things relative to how you run operations? How would
Uh,
people get in touch with you?
so you can check out our website at latruckstopgaming.com, um, or you can feel free to share. You have my contact information. You can feel free to share that with your users in your podcast.
Excellent. So what I'll do is when we produce the episode is I'll put some contact info for your website, and I'll share a little bit on how they could find you on LinkedIn. How does that sound?
Perfect.
All right. Well, I know you're on the road. You got a lot of operational things to do. Jeremy, I want to thank you for being on CMMS Radio, and We look forward to seeing you continue to thrive within the business. And thanks again for your time today.
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks, Greg.
My pleasure. Take care.
Bye.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question, and follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project, and keep listening to CMMS Radio. Do you have a CMMS story? We'd love to hear it. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.